What's up, everybody? It's Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode on Holistic and Spiritual AF. Welcome, welcome, welcome back, fam. If you are tuning in, I appreciate you all so much. You guys are helping this podcast to grow. It's expanding, it's reaching more people, and most importantly, it's helping people. So I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in on the first and the third Fridays of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear myself and my guests go into amazing topics such as ancestral wisdom, divine feminine energy, and pretty much just esoteric practices for alchemy. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. And if this is the first time that you are jumping on this podcast, be sure to hit that like, follow, subscribe, and comment if this episode resonates with you if you're into those things that I just talked about earlier. Okay, this podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, and pretty much anywhere that podcasts are aired. Okay, so you definitely want to check it out. You don't want to miss these episodes, they're amazing. And today's episode and guest is also going to be amazing. This is episode 54. The title is Healing, Forgiveness, and the Dark Night of the Soul. And my guest is Mama Goddess. Mama Goddess is a spiritual teacher, root worker, Reiki healer, crystal jewelry designer, and a small business owner. Her purpose and mission is to help you heal. And you know, I'm all about that life, okay? So today's episode, I'm going to be sitting down with Mama Goddess, and she's going to share how she faced her own dark night of the soul and used forgiveness as a pathway to deeper healing and freedom. This one is for the soul who's tired of carrying old wounds, ready to release the weight of the past and step boldly into your rebirth and transformation. You don't want to miss this podcast episode. This is a fire podcast episode. We really went in deep, okay? She gave us a well rounded perspective of all sorts of things like root work, dark night of the soul, forgiveness, healing. I mean, it was just a really powerful episode. So if you are impatient like me, go ahead and hop over to about 4 minutes. You can jump directly into the podcast episode. But if you have some time to stick around to hear what's going on in the holistic and spiritual AF community, you can do that as well. But know that I'll also have this information down in the description, as well as Mama Goddess's information, and where you can find her. She's on TikTok at Mama Goddess 444, and she also has a Patreon called The Gathering that meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for deeper spiritual connection. So be sure to check out the description because there's all sorts of goodies in there as well. And I have just a little bit of business to get out of the way before we jump into it. This month, September, I'm going to be having a master class. This is going to be the Scripture and Conjure, the Bible and Hoodoo Tradition class on Wednesday, September the 24th, 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. This was actually requested, and also the ancestors was like, "Go for it! Yes, let's do this. Let's start reclaiming our roots." I'm all about that. So we're going to be talking about the Bible from a Hoodoo tradition. So Hoodoo is a closed practice. I respect that. I honor that. And I'll have the details. You can actually check out my website for that, and it'll have all the details in there so that you can see if this is a good fit for you. Okay. So definitely wanted to get that out of the way. Also, some exciting news. Currently, the podcasts have guests on the first and the third Friday of the month at 6 p.m. I will also be coming in starting in September on the second and the fourth Fridays of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my solo episodes, okay? Because I've been having lots of downloads and lots of transmissions, and my ancestors are urging me. They're like, get it out there, okay? So I'm going to be coming in, and Holistic and Spiritual AF has graduated to now having 4 podcast episodes per month. And September actually makes the full year that we started having the guests. So we're growing, we're growing. And most importantly, people are being helped by this as well. Okay. So be sure to check out the description for all of that good news that I just talked about. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right. So thank you so much, Mama Goddess. I really, really appreciate you agreeing to do this podcast episode with me. I saw you out there on social media doing your thing, and, just talking to you briefly before we started. Your energy is so Mama Goddess for real. And you're doing some amazing things out there. You're helping the community with the Dark Night of the Soul. I love that. Forgiveness, spell work, Reiki, as well as intuitive readings. And you also have a store with selling crystals and booking events and doing all kinds of amazing things. You're out there on your path. So tell myself and my audience how it all got started for you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored that you reached out to me. I'm like, oh, thank you that you took interest in what I have to say and the things that I have to talk about. So first and foremost, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So I started my spiritual journey about 11 and a half, 12 years ago at this point. I was born and raised in the church, which I'm sure a lot of us were born and raised in the church. I was raised non denominational. So, the hand clapping, the foot stomping. I don't think I was ever baptized in the church. I'm trying to think.
Probably not of your not of your willingness. like so-
And probably I probably was. And then I guess maybe trauma was like, girl, push that out of
Mhm.
your head. So, but like I said, born and raised in the church, was very active in the church as well, had whatever positions. My main ministry for me was the choir. So I was on the choir as a kid, and then I was on the praise team as I got older and stayed pretty much in the music department of it all. Um, and over time, throughout my life, actually, I've been asking questions, and what you're taught in church is to not ask questions. You're not supposed to ask God anything,
Right.
or you're not supposed to ask those types of questions. And those questions never got answered in the church. I was always shunned. And as I'm looking at the different adults in the church who would make certain mistakes, I would feel strongly for them, like, y'all are not helping these people do better or be better. You're just shunning them, and shunning them. And it just never sat right to me. So as I got older in my spiritual walk, I guess, and I've always been gifted as well. I always used to dream, and I would have visions and premonitions and a lot of deja vu things. But again, being in church, none of that was cultivated. It was just like, oh, you have the gift like David, because David was a dreamer. David in the Bible, David was a dreamer. And I'm like, okay, but never, okay, since you dreaming, this is what you need to do. So again, those gifts were never cultivated until I became an adult. And like I said, I was on the praise team, and I started to get really involved in the behind the scenes of what's going on in church.
Mhm.
You get to see how people truly live and what they truly do and how they hide and how they use God, Jesus, the religion of it all as a mask, and never really showing their true selves to the world. And me being a Sagittarius, I had a strong problem with that because I'm like, live out loud, do your
Right.
things, be free. Sagittarius is all about freedom of expression, going traveling, just picking up and wandering and wanting to know more knowledge. And that's where I was. And because I wasn't getting any of those answers in church, I started to seek answers elsewhere. So I came of a time where woke, quote unquote, was very popular. All this information started to come out. I mean, it's not like spirituality or African spirituality or these other African practices did not exist. They were just like, shh, you don't talk about that stuff,
Right.
Um, but as I began to grow in that era of awakening, it was it was hard, and I'm going to talk about it. I guess right now we talk about the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
So the dark night of the soul happens when you start to awake, so to speak. All the things that you once knew are now, it's like you have to relearn it. You have to almost
Yes.
forget the things that you have learned and then relearn the things that are happening to you now. It's like, and the things that you unlearn, you begin to get a little aggravated and upset because it's like all of this time I could have been
Yep.
knowing something else. And then not only that, you're becoming a new person and you're entering into this walk that is unfamiliar. And a lot of the times during that time, you're often by yourself because the people who you've had support or who you've gotten support from, they're not there to really support you or they don't know how to help you in that time. And it's an ego death as well. Like you're dying to yourself.
Yes.
uh, the person that you once knew, or the person, or the things that you have gotten yourself comfortable with in life, the things that may have been working for you for a time,
Hmm.
no longer work anymore, and things no longer start to make sense anymore. And when you try to ask for help, no one's can really help you, and it starts to affect every area of your life. It starts
Yes.
to affect you emotionally, physically, financially. I was in a space at that time where I was living in a one-bedroom apartment with my mom and my
Yeah.
4 children. So, talk about dark night of the soul, working
Yeah.
at a fast food restaurant, you
Yeah.
know, and I have all of these people that need my help, that I have to be responsible for. These little people, I mean,
Hmm.
my children, to be responsible for, and it was like life had turned completely upside down. What I once had known completely changed, and there was nothing I can do to stop it. And that during that time, I didn't know what to call it. I just knew I was stressed. I knew I
Right.
had migraines every single day. I mean, I would wake up and go to sleep with a headache because I just didn't know what to do. And I didn't have any help. I went to church, and did the things and thought, God, save me, help me. But that wasn't, now looking back at it, that wasn't what God needed to do for me to save me. What I needed to do is learn this lesson and have this
Yes.
experience. And I believe that we have these experiences for a reason. We have these lessons for a reason. They don't always feel good, but sometimes we have to have these hard lessons,
Yes.
because during these experiences and during these lessons, this is how we begin to grow our spiritual muscles. I
Yep.
say muscles, but it's muscles. We begin to grow our spiritual muscles, and we have a better connection with our spirit team, or with God, because we're now trusting more of God and the
Yes.
experience that we're having. So,
Faith without works is dead. Ain't that what they say?
that's what they say. That's exactly what they say. And never really knowing how some of those scriptures really uh, are related to our lives. We
Hmm.
always want to marry those certain scriptures to your Christian walk or your religion walk,
Right.
but a lot of the scriptures do apply for us in the natural.
Yes.
That makes sense for us here. But again, because of a religion has brainwashed a lot of
Yes.
us into thinking that this is the only way. When you go to expand and to be different and to be open and to be free, it's like, who are you? What are you doing?
Yes.
And so with the ego death for me as well, again, very outspoken. I say what's on my mind. I had went through a time where I was just pissed off with everybody.
Yeah.
I was pissed off with my mom and dad because they raised me in the church, and I'm like, they should know this information, not knowing that, they don't know,
You the
but I'm
cycle
just like,
breaker.
you know, I'm like, you had a responsibility to teach me and you led me astray all this time. Like all of this stuff was just
They like, we
I'm just
astray.
and don't know it.
Right.
Still to this
Comfortably
day,
astray.
ignorant, blissfully ignorant. Okay. So I was on social media for some time on my Facebook, just blasting all of the pastors that have. I'm
You
telling
got
all the
mad.
secrets. I
You
was
got mad.
mad. I was just
She did her
posting
own little
stuff.
reality version of Greenleaf.
You hear me? I mean, I'm Googling people and was like, well, this pastor makes this much money. You sure you want to keep giving your money to this church? Like, it was bad,
It's okay. It
bad.
was a part of the
And
journey.
but it was part of the journey, you know. And I'm sure I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. They didn't want to talk to me, and I was like, well, y'all weren't gonna talk to me nowhere. Like it was, but I had to go through it
Yeah.
to be able to talk about it like this today. To know that this is a part of the experience when you are, especially for those who are coming out of the church, or for those
Mhm.
who are relearning their lives and relearning themselves, because the dark night of the soul is different for everybody. For people like me, it was church. But dark night of the soul could look like whatever childhood trauma that you have
Yes.
experienced
That
up
was mine.
into, see,
Yep.
up into the point of awakening. It's like, well, why did I even have to go through all that in the first place? What was that even for? You know, this my life could have been so much different. I could have had this instead, but no, I got these people in my life. And you know, so it's like you go through a lot of questioning about why. And over time, you may not get the why in the time of your dark night of the soul. But as you learn and grow and have that connection to spirit and your spirit team and your spirit guides, the why will be a little more understanding. It may not be, let me change that. It'll be more accepted. The why will be more accepted. You may not fully understand, and you may even go through periods of time where you're like reflecting on, you know, where you came from and not in a grateful way. You know, it's like, dang, I really went through that. Like
Right.
that was that was messed up. But as you're healing and as you're growing, you understand, you know what, that was messed up, but I'm not going to stay in this space. I recognize that it was part of my journey and the reason why I'm here. And I say this often that the things that we go through is not just for us, especially if you are a healer in the world. It's
That's
not
right.
just for you, it's for somebody else because somebody is going to go through something s- just like your experience or maybe something similar to your experience. And then you can take your experience and then encourage them and say, hey, look, I've been where you are, maybe not exactly to the letter, but this is what I did to help me through it. And this is the advice that I can offer to you in, you know, as you're going through what you're going through. Now, whether you choose to take that advice and apply it to your life is totally on you, but I'm here to give you the information. And
That's
once you
right.
know, you cannot unknow.
That's
So
right.
uh, the choice is yours, you know. Um, so like I said, going through this experience with the dark night of the soul. And so I started to surround myself with like minded people because the people that I was surrounding myself with were all internet people. And it, like I said, I was coming through an era or a time where it was woke, but the
Yes.
woke community started to feel very religious. It's like
Yes.
you can't do this if you got this going on. And then there was the hotels telling people what to do. And then the no shade to the Israelites and the Hebrews and the
Oh,
things,
yes.
but they were very aggressive. And I'm like, this is sounding like organized religion. I don't want
Yes.
this. If I have to be this way in order to be free of the chains of religion, I'm just going to back away because this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
So I began to do again my own research and started to look at things that were related to me, that resonated with me, that made me feel comfortable in myself. And to be honest here, I didn't have an elder really to like show me the way. A lot of things that I learned, it was really through spirit and me
Yeah.
having and me experimenting with certain things. And God would put certain people in my life that that were only there for a specific season and
Yeah.
reason, not knowing that they weren't supposed to be there long term when we did meet. But it was like, okay, your purpose was to show me that I needed to go to this botanica to look at things,
Right.
and your purpose, while I'm at this botanica, you were supposed to introduce me to the things. So
Right.
okay, and so it was like it was literally like God was just placing certain people in my life to to help me grow in my spiritual journey. So I had an old coworker of mine because again I was on social media saying the things, doing the things, and I'm heavy on the black pride, black is wealth, and
Went
black,
there too.
you know, black on black, which
I had
I'm not
a less
saying.
by melanated South Florida group.
All the things, girl. Um, Try to look at everything in black because
Yeah.
again, going through the dark night of the soul, I'm also realizing a lot of things that we were even taught in school. We
Yes.
didn't get a lot of information about our culture, about our race, about, you know,
Right. Then you get mad
how
all
we,
over again.
like I was failed out here. What is this?
Right.
So as you're learning more about, slavery and colonization and all the history behind it, you get pissed off all over again, like you
Yeah.
said. And so I'm talking about that and talking about how, you know, black is and a lot of the stuff is true, but it's
Mhm.
also in how you deliver the message.
Correct.
Like we all know for a fact that the sky is blue, right? At
Mhm.
least visually. This is what we see. We see the sky is blue. But if I want to if I want to convince you of something different, or if I want you to see a different perspective of the sky being blue, I can't tell you the sky is purple and you better believe me, because if you don't believe that the sky is purple, then your life is all messed up. But
Right.
to me, and everybody is different. And I also have a background in teaching. So when you're teaching somebody something, especially some new information, or maybe something that is a boring topic, you as a teacher have to figure out a way to captivate your audience,
Right.
to help them learn the things. So me saying telling you that the sky is purple and being aggressive about it, you can be like, you know what, that girl crazy. The sky is blue and I know it's blue. you
Exactly.
know?
And
But if
that's
I
what
say
ends up happening. Yeah, we
that's
try to
what
go run back and
happens.
tell everybody what we haven't processed yet. And we mad behind it.
Right. And so I'm delivering a message. The sky's been purple for so long. I don't know how nobody knew this. Like, no, you know. But if I tell you, so I know we've learned that the sky is blue, but have
Right.
you considered that at some points the sky is purple and then maybe through, I don't know, some sort of sun change or something, the sky could be purple. What do you think about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is how you invite an audience in to have a conversation, to open up the mind to different perspectives. Not that you're trying to change the mind, but at least plant the seed to say,
Yes.
you know what? I'm gonna do more research on that and see for myself if
Yeah.
indeed the sky is purple. You know what I mean?
Right.
And who knows, just being open minded, maybe at some point the sky does look purple to some people. Maybe because of
Right.
how the sun sets, the sky could be purple at this time of day. But trying to force it down your throat, like to me, I
Yes.
I I don't take too kindly to aggression. So so if you already own that type of time, I'm like, well, you have a good one.
Right.
I'm gonna go about my
You
business.
lost me out and stopped listening to you. I
As
ain't
soon as
heard
you
nothing
opened
you
your
said,
mouth,
and I think you crazy.
you know, your energy is off. You may have had good intentions, but
Right.
oh, side note, I did have an experience like that with somebody who was an Israelite, came to me at an event that because I used to do events around town, and came to my booth and acted like or cosplayed as a customer, acting like they was interested in my products.
Hmm.
But they ended up wanting to tell me, well, if these crystals really work, why do they need to help people in slavery? And I was like, okay,
Get away from my booth.
get away. And they, I call them purple people eaters because they always wear like the purples and the things. I said, if
Right.
this purple people eater don't get away from me with this foolishness. But, just to marry that to what I've been talking about, like, the how the people are when it comes to trying to spread information. If you want
Right.
like the old saying goes, like you can catch more bees or flies with honey than you can do, what is it, salt or vinegar? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. So that has been my approach since coming out of the whole coming to the end of the dark night of the soul.
I love it. I love how you you did
Calm
that
down.
well. You really I'm glad you said you had a background in teaching because I'm like, wow, she's very eloquently putting together and piecing complex information that would maybe difficult for beginners. And you describe because I was going to ask you like, okay, what's your definition of dark night of the soul? And you describe that, your awakening. You describe the process, you describe the different
Mhm.
layers, and you describe the fact that this is messy, y'all. This is not
Very.
linear. Okay. This is not linear. Be
Yeah.
kind and gentle with yourself while you're going along this process. You also describe the fact that some people are here specifically to teach us certain things on the path. It took some time for that for me too, because I wanted community, and my ancestors are like, no, don't
Mhm.
get too comfy cozy. It's time
Mhm.
to move on. You got enough. And then I would go on to the next part of the journey. You discussed the emotions. I love that because I was mad. I was
Very
mad, and
much. Yeah.
and I was glad you talked about the super like fist pumping error because I went through that too. I was like, no makeup, dashikis,
Mhm.
like just just do most
Just
doing the
doing
most. But I
stuff.
I laugh now, but I know my girls were looking like, can we
Mhm.
just be
Lost
normal?
your mind.
They just wanted to be normal, and I'm over here trying to shove all this information down their throat. And they kids, they like, we don't care, It's like, we don't care. They still talk about that today, but as a result, the seeds were planted for them.
Right.
They still go off and live their life, they and do their thing, but the seeds were planted because they have a knowledge of self. That was the thing, and I told them if that's nothing else, then I did my job with that because they know who they are in society, and they don't allow certain things that I had to go through as a young black woman to affect them. They're like, mommy, we don't think like that. I'm like, well, somebody had to break the curse so that you could be feeling like that, all
You
like
know?
entitled and whatnot, and empowered, whatever.
Mhm.
so so yeah, and then I love how you talked about the deconstruction process, because I had another lady on the podcast and she talked about that a lot too, because
Mhm.
a lot of people are coming out of that church structure.
Yeah.
I had a religious background, but I turned myself off of that because I was like, you guys are clearly something wrong with y'all. It don't make sense
Mhm.
what you talk about. And I turned
Mhm.
myself off of it, experienced trauma, and then went into my awakening. But you also talked about, and I love hearing this, the fact that you ain't really have no teachers.
Mhm.
You it was spirit, which makes it frustrating at times
Right.
because you used to coming from a structure where everybody tells you what to do, what to think, how to be, you don't do
Right.
this, do that, and now all of a sudden you're breaking free from that,
Right.
and nobody around you, because you are the one, and your family and your lineage knows what's going on and they can't answer those questions for
Right.
you. And that's the walk. That's the journey of a healer, of a star
Mhm.
seed, of a chosen
Mhm.
one, of an anointed one. Let's get this straight. Not somebody
Yeah.
who's self anointed, okay?
Right.
Not somebody who just popped up one day and don't have a story behind them.
Mhm.
And they're like,
Right.
I'm this, I'm that. No, you have to. And this is what my ancestors have been going through, talking to me about recently is no, you went through the fire. You went lifetimes through the fire. You were
Mhm.
chosen because we knew you could withstand this.
Yeah.
And that sounds like your story, and to look at you today, we would never know you was that mad.
Never. When I
So,
talk to my so I have a Patreon where I actually help teach spirituality, but what I realize over time is that I help give shout out to Karamo. I know this has nothing to do with him at all, but kind of does for me. But so Karamo is a show that it's a syndicated show that talks about, like, he brings people on for them to talk about their situations, and he helps navigate them through their situations. He has a history of counseling.
Okay.
social work, and for children and adults, and he helps families get them back on track. And what he does is give them like the first step. Obviously, everything cannot be solved in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but he gives the first step to, okay, this is what I can offer you, and you can take this and run with it. Similarly, for me, I help people start their spiritual journey. You
Me
know,
too.
for them to get the basics of
Right.
what it is that you do and where you are on your specific spiritual journey, because everybody's journeys look different.
Hmm.
And although it's all similar, like we all are a collective, we all add to the whole, but each of us have our own unique paths to follow, because we have certain people that draw to us,
Right.
so, and I realize over time that I've been doing this, the type of people that come to me are beginners, and they're
Right.
looking for somebody to help, just tell me what to do, how to do
Like
the
where we
thing.
were.
Right, right. And that's exactly what I was. I'm like, is there anybody? Where are the people?
Yes.
So, uh, that's what I do now. And that's where I am, and I'm grateful to be in this space. And I'm gonna be completely honest. I was like, no, when the idea came to me, or when Spirit said to do the things, I was like, mm-mm. And it was a big no for me, because one, because I was so angry, but I was shifting. My life was elevating, but for me, it was a big no for me, because I'm like, this is not just helping people. I am responsible for people's lives.
Responsible.
And and
That's the
that's
word.
that
You
people are
you
looking to you.
right.
And for me, it was like, well, what if they don't get what they need? And what if something happens and then they come back and blame me? And here I am, like, oh, like, I did not want the
I
responsibility.
feel that.
I didn't want to take on the task. I was just like, no, I'm good. But it didn't leave me. The urge and the calling, it didn't leave me. And I was like, okay,
She went in reluctantly.
I did.
But you did though. That's
Prayer to
good.
God. Um, there's this song by because again, I'm heavy, heavy in the church, born and raised. So a lot of my foundation is gospel music.
Hmm.
And the fact that I love music itself,
Yeah,
so
me
I
too.
heavily resonate with it. There was a song by Shekinah Glory Ministries just called "Yes," and so, like, the all of the song, it just says yes, but it just has different inflections and notes and things like this throughout the song. But at the beginning of it, she asks us a question. The vocalist asks us a question: "Will your heart and soul say yes?" And as I'm listening to the song, mind you, this song is like 14 minutes, but it's a really great song. But it helps you to really reflect this song.
Mhm.
And I'm just sitting here like, will I though? And it kind of just came up in my feed on YouTube one day, and I'm just like, come on now.
That was your
Not,
ancestors. They was like,
and I
"Will
was
you
like,
say yes?"
will you say yes? And I'm like, okay, I'm about to turn this off. Go skip song. Why are you in my playlist? Because I'm trying to listen to some Joe to see what are we doing. you know. So I was like, all right, let me just sit with this for a minute and see. And a lot of the times too, when we are challenged with certain tasks from our ancestors and from spirit, we our imagination takes it to another place
Mhm.
where we think it's going to be so hard and this is unimaginable, and why would you even tell me to go this route? It's
Right.
and I'm talking to myself again, because I was told to do something, and I'm just like, this is gonna disrupt everything I got going on. But
They're like, "Yep, that's the point."
yeah, that's why it's time for you to grow, girl. I'm like, but I got comfortable right here anyway. But again, going back to it in the beginning, like, I'm cool with just being where I am. And then also a part of me was like, I'm not even qualified for this. What do you
Yes.
mean?
That
I
imposter
haven't.
syndrome for, where we got to remember, we're more than this flesh here. Your
Right.
soul is much more expansive. That part, I think a lot of healers or and spiritualists, they suffer with that. I know that
Hmm.
was a big one for me for a long time. Like, oh, I don't know, that look at what I've been through, like that's like, yeah, that because of what you've been
Right.
through. I'm like,
Exactly.
am I really qualified? Yeah.
That was my biggest thing because I'm like, I for me, it was like just from hearing what people have been saying on social media when it comes to
Yes.
the African spiritual practices and voodoo and hoodoo and voodoo and Ifa and Santeria and all this. And I'm like, well, I had to be initiated first. I can't just start
Right.
doing the things. No, because I don't want to. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want
I
to,
don't want to accidentally get in nothing
you know what
heavy.
I'm saying? And no.
I'm-
So I'm gonna stay right here. This is safe for me.
right.
And Spirit was like, no. And I said, okay, I'm gonna say yes, but like giving a caveat, like
Right.
I'm gonna say yes, but it needs to go this way. But I was like, no, I was like, you know what? All right, yes, but you're gonna have to be with me every step of the way.
That's
Like
right.
you're gonna have
That's
to
right.
guide me because I don't know the things. And I don't claim to know everything there is to know, but what I do know, I share. And whatever knowledge or information spirit wants to give me, I share. So I said my yes. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And just step by step,
Yeah.
started to grow, started to elevate, started to learn more things. And as I'm saying, yes, different people were being placed in my life. So going back to the coworker, she introduced me to, like I said, I was on social media doing the I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black, y'all, and I'm back, y'all.
They're
Like
like,
all of
really?
that. Are you? I didn't know.
Right.
You know,
When
and
did that just happen?
when did that happen? I thought you were, but I tell you one thing though, and I feel like this resonates heavily with me. Why I was going so hard on being black because at one point in my life I did wish that I was white because
Mm.
I felt like, especially being a dark skinned girl,
Yes.
I felt like
Yes.
because colorism still exists,
Yes,
regardless
it
of what
does.
anybody says. Sorry to y'all who are listening, it's a thing.
It
Okay.
is. Absolutely.
Um, for me growing up as a dark skinned girl, what was always represented and what was always getting the
Yes.
most attention were light skinned girls. Not
Yes.
saying that their experience wasn't validated as being light skinned, but
Right.
being darker skinned, you didn't really get so many,
No.
you didn't get so much attention, which
As a little girl,
I'm
you never got to
appreciative.
hear, "You so pretty," and
Right.
but you would hear the girl beside you get it, and they would just skip and gloss right over you. That wounds the child, y'all.
It
And I
does.
talk, and it sticks with you for a long time. I talked about that before. Yes, you're right about
So much
that.
so where I was like, when I start having children, I want to have a light skinned father, so my children won't
Mhm.
be dark. You know, that's how bad the self hate was,
Right.
and which why I'm appreciative of the movie Sinners, where they have a
Yes.
dark skinned woman
I
as a
was cheering
lead,
that. I was
you
so
know,
cheering that on. I
and
was
a
like,
full
"Look
figure
at
woman at that.
this."
Like,
Yes. I was like,
yeah,
"Look at this." I remember watching movies. I know, even the singer. The singer, she was a
yeah,
dark-skinned sister, and I was like, "Oh,
hmm hmm
I'm loving this,"
yes, yes,
Yeah, I'm
loving to
glad you
be
caught that.
represented in this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm So,
Yeah.
again, and then once going through this dark night of the soul and realizing like how powerful us as Black people are, it was just
Mhm.
like, dang, I really have I'm really
Yes.
connected to some power up in here. Why do
Yeah.
I wanted to be white so bad? Like,
Right. I'm like, I take that back. I'll
and
revoke
you
that.
know what? And I'm like, I'm black, y'all.
Yes, yes.
Um,
There is a sense of empowerment to it. Once you get
yeah.
through the anger side, like you said, there's that
Mhm.
self-love. That's when I started my locks. That's when I really started understanding about the magnificence of our
Yes.
people and where we come
Mhm.
from, and
Mhm.
deconstructing those lies, like you said. So, yeah, it's a piece of both of those aspects are a piece of knowledge of self for us that gives
Yeah.
us that empowered feeling where we're coming
Mhm.
from a whole place. So I think it's necessary. But yeah, I'm glad you touched on the fact about colorism, being a dark skinned little girl, and what that does to the
Mhm.
psyche for us. And then on top of that, when you're constantly seeing the images of that, the billboards, the
Right.
movies, the books, the
Mhm.
magazines, it's
Yeah.
constantly being reinforced that beauty is not associated with someone that looks like you. And
Exactly.
that is that's crushing. Like
Yeah.
people
It
don't get it.
is.
And so yeah,
Mhm.
like you said with Center to see that, I'm like,
Mhm.
like I just love
Mhm.
them for this.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm seeing us change and come around
Yeah.
yeah, better with that anyway. So thanks for bringing that
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. No problem. So like I said, I met this coworker. I had to say that part because I keep coming to the coworker, then I get derailed a little bit. But the coworker introduced me to a local botanical store that has like all the spiritual things, the
Okay.
crystals, the
Yeah.
herbs, the candles, and she told me about a specific candle that or a specific crystal that's supposed to help with like sex and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Really?
well, now
I'm
I'm
like,
intrigued to go.
I'm
Well,
intrigued
let's
to
go. Let's
know.
go.
I'm like, how I missed that when I got all these
I
other
want to
ones.
see this. But they had what drew me in initially that there was a crystal that was in the shape of a penis. And I was like, what would somebody do with this? And so again, being a Sagittarius, I'm inquisitive now. Now I'm like, well, what else is in here? So as I'm looking and asking questions at the front desk and talking to the different people, the people who work there, my paths crossed with somebody who was in Santeria,
Okay.
and he had introduced me to the Orishas. And I was like, oh, this is new. I've never heard of these, but it was like, it really resonated with me how he was explaining it to me.
Mm.
So, of course, I go and do my own research and start looking up the Orishas, then started learning about Yoruba spiritual or the Yoruba African spiritual practice and the Orishas and the gods and goddesses and stuff. And I'm just like, mind blown. Like, what?
Right. Like a whole
You,
nother dimension of
you
something
know,
else.
it's right.
The journey is so expansive, I tell people.
It is. It's not just one thing. And it can get a little intimidating when you're starting
Yeah.
your spiritual journey because it's like, well, where do I even start? Like,
Right.
what am I supposed to do?
The
And I tell a lot of
basics.
people, right, just start doing your research.
Yeah.
And whatever you start to research first, you don't have to learn everything all at one time. Because your spiritual journey is that in and of itself, a journey. It's not a marathon.
Right.
You get to experiment and experience, and you get to be free in how you learn the things. Just take your time with it. Where it started for me, it was with crystals. Well, it started with the Orishas. And this was when Lemonade came out, and Beyonce was had embodied Oshun, and so everybody
Mm.
wanted to have Oshun as their
Yeah.
mother.
I
And I was like,
remember that. Is that how it works really? Is it that
it,
easy?
you know, I was like, I'm not, no. And they were trying to tell me at one point that you have a Oshun as your head, and I'm like, child, okay, next. No shade, no shade, girl,
Right,
no
I
shade.
know. I feel you. I look.
Mhm.
I had my experience, and I had about 11 of them. I should have been. Was just saying. I'm like, okay.
Right.
But it was confusing.
Mhm.
It was overwhelming. I think I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a time. So I kind of shied away from it, but my I had different experiences, and what once I started to learn more about the Orishas themselves, I started to have experiences. And it was just
Right.
like weird. So, oh yeah, she
Hmm.
started to manifest to me. This was when I was still working at the school, and she would leave me seashells by my car. I was nowhere near water at all. We don't even have a retention pond next to the school, but there
Hmm.
was like a seashell like in the parking lot behind my car.
Hmm.
And it's a wooded area, so to speak, like a lot of trees, not wooded, but it's a lot of trees. So to see
Right.
a seashell here, I was like,
Where does come from?
"Yeah, did somebody place this here? Was somebody having orchards one day? And
Right.
what?" So that happened, and then some weeks later, there were like two seashells on my back porch. I was like, okay, this we're getting closer to home now. Like, wait a minute, like, what are we doing?
Right. You got a
Creepy,
secret
but not really.
admirer
You know,
that know where
stand
you live at
out.
now.
So I was like, okay, so she must be my mother Arisha then, okay, because she's really calling for me right now. All right. So then I'm working with the person who introduced me to
Mhm.
Santeria because he's initiated in Santeria. So I'm like, all right, well, this seems okay. I can go this route. And we started to do, he introduced me to candle work.
Yes.
And then I was like, this is a little scary, but I'm also intrigued. I
Right.
think I can do the things. So here I am trying to buy all the candles, buy all the crystals, do all the things. And it's
Yeah, we do be spending a lot of money in the
a
beginning.
lot
Like
of
we
money,
gotta have all the supplies all at once. Like we need
all that,
everything to make up for
because I am
nothing.
certified. I know how to do
That's
the
right.
things.
We can't get it slowly.
You
It's
know,
just gotta be like, I gotta get the crystals. I need all the books. I need what book is that? Like yeah.
all, just try to do some of everything and then look up spells online.
Yeah,
Oh, a freezer spell? Oh,
just
I
doing
know a couple
anything.
of people I can put in the freezer. Like, just calm down, girl. But again, when you don't
The
have
internet.
like the, when you don't have the guidance, you just do the things. You
Right.
know, I can laugh at myself now, but um, and even when they were talking about when you're writing your petition, you need to use parchment paper.
Yeah.
I done went to Publix and got parchment paper from the baking department because I'm thinking that's the parchment paper they're talking about.
I thought it was that too in the beginning. I was like,
And I'm right, and I'm like, why won't it write on here? It's
that's
not
hilarious.
working.
She went and got wax paper, y'all.
Got wax paper.
But it is so funny. I know your ancestors probably was cracking up. They was like, she trying, y'all.
She is so she's almost scared, y'all. Just be patient with us. She all right. Yeah. And then I asked somebody about it. I was like, yeah, I went and got parchment paper, but my parchment paper not working. I don't know what's happening. And they was like, girl, no, it's not wax paper. I'm like, oh, okay. So actual parchment. Got it. Where do I get that from?
Right.
But then as you learn, it's parchment paper was a type of material that was used back in the day, and
Right.
so when they were doing spell works, now they use, especially Gullah Geechee hoodoo people,
Yes.
they use what was available to
What
them,
they got. That's my ancestors love that. And I love that for me too, because they don't require me to spend a whole lot of money. I'll be
right,
like, I gotta get, they be like, well, listen, you got something in here already. I love them for
right,
that. And if I do have to get something, it's like
hmm
barely even $30. I love it.
right, right. So
Resourceful.
very much. So and even with the spells too, I mean, there are spells that have been passed down, especially if you grew up like that. So there
Hmm.
are spells that are passed down and that we can, learn from others and stuff like that. But really, they made these things up. And just like
Yes.
they came up with how to do certain spells or certain things, you can make your own spells as well. They don't have to be always textbook because at the end of
Right.
the day, it's all about intentions. You can add
Yes.
a little bit, you can take away, you can mix it up a
Yep.
little bit. But as long as your intentions are pure when you're doing certain spell works, you good.
Yep,
It's gold. You
that's what I
know.
tell people all the time. I'd be like the ashe and the energy you put into
Yes,
getting the stuff, putting it together, praying over it. Oh, that is the spell. That's the magic right
that's
there.
exactly. That's the spell. That's the magic. So uh, she introduced me. The coworker introduced me to the store. The the worker introduced me to religion or to spirituality, and that's how I got into it. So then I started my journey with doing crystals because they, in the botanica they have the crystals, the herbs, the candles, the books, and all the things. I The worker who was there at the time introduced me to this rose quartz.
Yay. That's a good
And I was
starter
like,
one.
"There-
It's my regular quartz.
nice."
I know.
And I was like, he's like, you need to really work on, healing, self love. And I'm like, do you see me? I love myself. Like,
He just
what are
read
you
you to
talking?
filth.
I'd be encouraging people about loving themselves. We talking about I love me. And he's like, yeah, no, just in case, just get this one here. And I was like, okay, I guess you know better than me.
Right.
So I had a friend of mine at the time who wore crystal jewelry. And I was like, oh my God, how did you make that? And she was like, I don't know. I just took some wire and just twist some stuff around. I was like, okay. So I go to YouTube University, started looking at different looking at different videos on how to wrap. Didn't know that when you wrap in crystal jewelry that they teach you how to wrap them. It's never, for
Oh,
me at
interesting.
least, no two crystals are crafted the same, and
Right.
even no two crystals are come out the ground the same. So, and unless they are cut in a different way to like maybe be smooth or round or whatever, unless they are cut a certain way, they typically, for me in my experience, they tell you how they want to be wrapped. I mean, I have my base starter craft.
Right.
But then as I'm wrapping it, it's like, oh, okay, it turns into this. For me, everybody is different, And so I got bold enough to say, all right, I can start doing a little bit more. I can maybe start selling these. And so I started to do my research on crystals and their meanings and what they do for the body and what they do for the spirit and how
Yes.
you can utilize this metaphysical energy for your
Yes.
daily life. And I was like, okay, I'm I'm on to something now. And then I started to sell crystals and got even bold enough to want to sell these crystals at different markets, which was a big
Mm.
thing for me because I was scared out my mind because I'm looking at other people's craft work and I'm like, they are doing way better than me. They've had this experience and stuff look way better than mine. What if nobody comes to my table? I would just melting
Yeah.
down on the inside. Very first event, don't know nothing about this, like wasn't raised like this at all. So to come
Right.
out like this was very intimidating. And long story short, first day made over $1,300.
Oh, nice.
Blew my mind because I'm like, but also too, this was like Juneteenth had just begun to be a thing, and people had their
No.
stimulus checks. So
No, don't discount it. It was a sign that this is what you're
yeah,
supposed to do. This is
yeah,
what you've done before. And I like how you talked about the crystals tell you to wrap. I'm like, I just wear them. I don't I don't make
yeah.
it. But you have a gift with that. And I also think it's really interesting that when we're in crystals, like once we start understanding and seeing crystals, it seems like everybody wearing crystals. It
Like you
seemed
need to
like
know
we
what you're
everywhere we
wearing.
go, people wearing crystals, like,
Mhm,
and I just started getting back in them for me. But like I said, for me, that's why I looked up your website, which I got down here at the bottom of the screen,
mhm.
because I wanted to check out your crystal work. But now that I know how you do it, that matters to me. The fact
Yeah,
that the way you do it is intentional and the way that you do it is working with the spirits of the actual crystal itself, because that's a
Yeah,
whole nother realm, y'all. Like,
it,
I love it. You made your
it,
$1,300 because that was a sign that you
that
were
was a
doing
sign
what
for
you're
me to
supposed to
keep
do.
going.
Yes.
And it was a challenge afterwards because it was like, okay, where are the people at? Because I was expecting to make
You
this money again. Like,
they
where are we
like,
going? But so, and that led me to have my website because I realized that, you know what, it may be bigger than the city that I'm in. Maybe. So as I'm doing that, I started wearing my crystal crown
oh, let me
all the
see.
time. Like again, I'm just trying to do any and everything on my little spiritual journey.
Oh, I like
So
it.
I'm just wearing this out and about, like whatever. This is me. This is who I am. Like get into it, you know. So I'm going to stores and stuff. So I go to a uniform store because it was we get ready to start school. My son needed to have a uniform. I get to the uniform store, and there was a high priest or a high priest there. I forget the name of the high priest in Palo Mayombe, but he seen my crown and was like, "Oh my God, we have to meet." And I was like, "Oh my God, okay, what is your information?"
Right.
So we met. We started talking. He um, introduced me to the spiritual religion of Palo Mayombe, which was completely new to me because all I knew was hoodoo, voodoo, and Santeria.
Hmm.
I did not know what a Palo Mayombe was until I
So,
started doing my own
did
research.
you practice? Did you actually go through like any initiations with hoodoo? You don't have to, but with Santeria, you did. Okay.
No, I didn't. No, no, I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
initiated in anything. I was
Okay.
just
I was just
borrowing from different
curious.
practices. Yeah. No,
Yes.
I'm strictly hoodoo, but I do borrow from different,
And that's hoodoo.
r- different, because I mean, I even had an opportunity to be initiated into Palo Mayombe, but then there were a bunch of like blockages. And
Hmm.
so I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the right time, but maybe we'll spin a block and see what my led to be initiated into Palo Mayombe, but then I was like, yeah, maybe not. So
I don't think
again,
I've
we'll
ever heard of
see.
that one. Interesting.
Yeah,
Now you know I got to
it's
look that up later.
yes, it's it to me it was very intense because of the different spirits that you will be working with
Mm.
and the
More
different,
left-hand path.
very much so.
Okay. That's what
And I was like,
that's the energy I was getting from it. I'm like, yeah, you're going to the dark side with that, like way up under.
you know,
Probably a lot more
and
necromancy and things like that. And I'm like, and we live there?
I'm a little nervous. So when I started doing the research on that, I was getting a little like uneasy because I do recognize that you have to you have to have balance in your spirituality. Sometimes you have to
Correct.
go to the dark side.
Yes.
Not to say that you have to always live in that space, but
Right.
sometimes it calls for you to be completely disconnected from any feelings that you have towards the work that you're going to do to be able to work with these types of spirits. And at the time, that wasn't it for me. I was like, I have spent so much time being upset and angry. I don't want to
You wore
bring her
yourself out.
up.
You
I've
drained
been walking in
yourself.
the light, and I don't
Right.
want to conjure her up. Like she's
Right.
been chilling. But as I'm growing in my spirituality, our shadow selves do not need to be dismissed. We need those shadow selves
That's
to help
right.
with us in with our growth and balance.
Growth.
There's this toxic positivity component for a lot of spiritualists who think love and light, right? Like it's good,
There are that
yeah.
that's spiritual bypassing, that's avoiding going deeper into yourself for the different levels of growth that keeps you stuck and stagnant. There, I
Hmm.
said it.
Period.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
So,
so it's just bypassing the work that has to be done, like
hmm,
period.
yeah,
That's it.
embrace that shadow side because that's a part of you. You don't
Yes.
put them to the side. That you need them. Because maybe at some point, maybe you need to be somebody else's karma. Maybe you need to piss somebody off, not because you are operating in that energy all the time, but maybe you need to be somebody else's karma. Maybe they need to have that lesson, and you are the one that spirit needed to work through. So maybe you
Right.
had to be an asshole this day, but
Exactly.
it's not that you stay in that space, but know that this other side is you. You need to be in that space too, but it's balanced. It's not always everything's great. It's great. It's great.
Right.
Sometimes things are not so great, and you
Right.
maybe need to have that experience for whatever phase of your spirituality that you're going through. So embrace that. You know.
Embrace it. I mean, we're supposed to be taking the masks off, okay, and showing up authentically as we are. And period. Like that's it. And then like even the Orishas get mad.
You know. Everything, and you're not always. And when I tell people about meditation, it's not always hands crisscross applesauce hands in your lap. Meditation looks different for everybody.
Thank
you
you.
know.
Okay. For some reason, and this is so weird, I don't know if you can get anything from this, but when I meditate, first of all, I'm lazy. What can I say? I
Hmm.
meditate like when I wake up. So I meditate laying down. And I always meditate with my left leg down, right leg in like in tree pose. It's weird. I automatically go into that position,
Go
and
into that space.
and I'm
I
like,
love
what is
it.
this even? I'm like, why? I really want to know that. I'm gonna investigate that a little bit more. I'm like, does this mean anything? Like,
It sounds like you're in tree pose, and
yeah,
tree pose is at the base of it. It's about the um root. What's it called? Not the root chakra. Is it? Is it the root? Is it called the root? The crown chakra? No, root. Yeah, root
yeah. The
chakra.
roots at the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah, the roots at the bottom. And so what you're doing in your meditation, you're like in tree pose. That means you have a solid foundation and you learn how to have that balance. For you, you're very grounded in a lot of things that you do. And so get automatically into that pose. You're already, I don't want to say
yeah.
conjuring, but you're already putting yourself into a space of balance for yourself.
Oh,
And
good.
the root chakra is connected to like the roots of the tree, but it's also
Yeah.
connected to our foundation of who we are and how we live. It's also connected to the calmness and the zen that we can have. Because
Hmm.
maybe for you, it's a thing of maybe you can be so like, oh wow.
Yeah, that's probably what it is too.
So,
Because I
so,
do.
so subconsciously, what your body is doing is getting yourself into a space of balance and
Yeah.
peace for you and defines your foundation. So that's just what I'm getting from
I
that
like
is
it.
that
Thank you. Because I
getting
noticed
yourself
that. I was like,
into tree
never
pose.
fails. I put my mask thing on. It's got the speakers in it, and I put the thing on, and boom, I'm like that. But my hands they're not up. I did that in the beginning because my journey
Mm,
started. I ended up bumping into the new age. There was no woke yet. Woke came a
yeah.
couple years later for me. So
Uh-huh.
I was looking for people who
Yeah.
look like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were always, it has to be hands up, And then if I had my hands down, they were looking like, oh no, you're not receiving.
Okay, I guess.
Right. And so when you talk about being frustrated with not having people that could teach you that was around, I was in a community and they couldn't answer my questions. And because my
Mhm.
experiences that I was having was much deeper, because I had the codes and they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Literally. Yeah.
I was getting frustrated that way. I was like, but
Mhm.
what about this? Well, how come I'm moving when I'm like meditating? Like, what is going on with that? Because stuff started moving real fast with me. I jumped into meditation, crystals, metaphysics, and so then I was
Mm.
dealing with I remember having a spirit board, and that sucker was moving. Okay, I was like,
Wow.
and this went
Wow.
way against everything I was taught, but that sucker was moving. Okay, and I was like, okay, this is real. Like, this is
Uh-huh.
real, real. That's what kind of kept me going because I'm an
Wow.
Aries. So I was like, I want to
Okay.
know. We want to know. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, they couldn't answer a lot of my questions. I get into yoga and all of these things. And then eventually, I kept feeling my ancestors, tell me you get more called to your African roots. And I was
Yeah.
like, what the heck does that mean? Like, girl,
Right.
they don't
Excuse
nobody
me.
know
I
anything
don't know
about that in my
nobody.
family. I know.
Mhm.
And then that's when I ended up getting into, I think, Tantra Qigong. And then I got thrown into
Mm,
the Yoruba community. I ended up going to some festival and was thrown in the thick of it. But sounds like you
wow.
went, you jumped in the deep end first. But the veil was lifting. And then, of course, the woke, the consciousness thing was there. But I think I did that first. And then I went into the shootings, Black Lives Matter,
Mhm.
fist pumping. Like it was a real. I
Yeah,
know people was
yeah.
watching me on Facebook. Like, what? It's we, we don't know what she gonna be in six
Unfollow.
months. In 6 months, she gonna be somebody different, and
Mhm.
that's how it was for me too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about a lot of stuff. You covered pretty much all of my questions. Like, thank
Okay.
you. Well done. You
Okay.
storyteller.
Thank you.
You covered Dark Night of the Soul. You talked about spell work, what it is and what it ain't. You basically just gave me an intuitive reading. Um, you talked.
And what's
I lo-
crazy about the intuitive reading, if do we still have time? I don't want to go over
yeah,
the
no,
time.
we
Okay.
can keep going. I just want to,
Okay.
go down the itinerary, but we're doing good. Yeah, keep going if you got
Okay.
time.
How I got into intuitive reading, I actually, like I said, I met the guy at the uniform store, and he gave me a reading, introduced me to Paulo Mayombe, and he was like, "You're going to be contacted with or come across somebody who does Reiki," and I was like, "What the hell is Reiki?" So I went and did my research on what Reiki was and how Reiki uses the universal energy to help realign the chakras in the individual. The chakras, we have seven main chakras, but there are like several hundreds from what I'm
Yes.
seeing, chakras throughout the body. But the seven main chakras are, and that seven is very significant in spirituality. There are seven orishas, uh, um, uh, seven archangels. There's the seven main chakras. There's um, what else is seven? Seven is just very prevalent when
Yeah.
you talk about spirituality. And so as I'm learning what Reiki is, I'm like, I think I should be doing this. I don't know. But in order to be a Reiki practitioner, you have to first have an attunement. And
Mm,
so when you do an attunement, what the practitioner does or what the Reiki master does is completely unblock and remove all of the energies that have been stuck within your seven chakras. And so the chakras are supposed to spin clockwise. That means energy is flowing, things are good in this area of your life or in your body. But when the chakra stops spinning, that means the energy is blocked. And you can feel this physically, but also emotionally. Like I talk about the heart chakra a lot. When the energy is blocked in your heart chakra, it can look like stress. It can look like physically, it can look like chest pains. It can look like self hate. It can look like our worldview of people, insecurities, projections. It can look like these things. But when the energy is flowing, it looks like self love. It looks like radical acceptance. It
yeah.
looks like peace, joy, and happiness. And so I go on Instagram and I started to look up Reiki practitioners, and I came across this young lady, and it's just like, I don't know, their spirits resonated. So I went to her, told her about, my journey, a little piece of it. And so she was like, okay, well, let's get you on this table. So I do,
She was like, "We got a ready one."
right, let's do it, girl. And I was like, okay. But I was open to the experience. And all you have to do literally as the receiver is just to lay there. During that time, you may feel chills, you may feel goosebumps, you may feel like crying, you may feel like laughing, you might fall asleep, you might pass. Who knows? Whatever
Right.
these blockages are. So she was doing just an overall energy cleanse, and she got to my sacral chakra, which is located above the navel, vibrates yellow. And she was like, "Yeah, you got some inner wounds that you need to attend to." And it's like when she said that, she was like, "And then you need to let go of the feelings you have against your father." And I was like, "What?" And I thought about it and just tears just was, I mean, those type of tears that, when you laying on your back and you crying, it falls into your ear. Like, I was like, oh God.
Right.
But it was what I needed. And so
Right.
after that experience, I was like, I am ready. Let's do this attunement.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks later, I have my attunement. And so what it does with those seven main chakras, it literally resets everything in you. And it can feel like a detox almost because
Mm.
you're throwing up, you go into the bathroom, you're like literally just getting rid of a lot of toxins. And now you're ready to be a conduit for energy to flow through you
Yes.
to the person and that you're working with. So after that, I got my certification and did the things. I She later reached out to me about a month later and was like, "Do you read like tarot?" And I was like, "No, but I've always been interested in it." And she said, "Well, there's this gig that's coming up in town, and I need three readers. Do you have a deck?" And I was like, "Actually, I do. My husband had bought me a deck for Christmas 2 years
That's what I was
ago."
gonna say. Probably in that bulk shopping we did in the beginning. Didn't need it yet, but we gonna use it
Yeah.
later.
And so he had been noticing me going to the Botanica. He was like, I never mentioned to him that I wanted to be a reader, but he got it for me for Christmas, a deck for me for
Oh, so
Christmas.
sweet.
Yeah. And he doesn't practice like I do, but he's very much in tune, but he don't want to do the things because he don't have time. Anyway, but he be doing the things. And he had got me the deck, and it just sat collecting dust for 2 years because I was so scared of it because my religion taught me that this is
Right.
bad. But I also knew that I wanted to do the things.
Right.
So I said, "Well, I do have a deck. I don't know how to read it. I don't know what it means. I don't know what to do." She's like, "Okay, we're going to meet." We met,
Oh, nice.
and she wanted me to give her a reading. And I'm just like looking at the cards, like, you have looking at the little book that they give you that comes with the decks. Let me see.
I remember them days. Them damn
You
things ain't
have
hardly no.
uh it says here, like I'm getting frustrated too because I'm like, I want this so bad,
Right.
and the gig is coming up next week. So I'm like, I'm gonna look stupid. What? So she sent me a link to a YouTube link from this young lady. Her name was Mystic Rain on YouTube. She did
Okay.
a full series on the entire 72 Rider's Way tarot. And as she was explaining it, and I lined my cards down, and as she's explaining them, I'm looking at my cards and looking at the video, and it was like, boom, boom. Everything was
Yep.
just coming together. And I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Still not completely feel like I'm ready to do this gig, but I said, okay, let's do it. It was about 40 minutes away from me, but I was almost psyching myself out because it was a full moon outside, and it was at the Ritz Carlton Hotel. But the hotel was like, I don't know what it is about being wooded areas, but it was like a lot of trees in this hotel. Like it was almost like a hidden gem, so to speak.
Mhm.
And where we had to go to the back of the hotel because they were having a conference back there, but it was on the water, but everything looked so ominous. And I'm
Right.
like, am I going to be sacrificed? 'Cause
It's like, what is this?
just,
This everything happened so quick.
it did, I didn't have time to adjust. I just was just going.
Mhm.
So I get there, and I only had one deck, and I just knew all I knew was you only use one deck because I'm new.
Right.
So I had my one little deck. Didn't have any like clarifying decks to clarify these
Yeah.
cards. It's just whatever spirit is giving me, I'm telling them, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so on point." I'm like, "For real?" Because I I did
I
I don't
love
know
it.
you at all, but that experience was so it brought so much life to me. It was like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
fun. I can do this forever. What crystal jewelry? Get it out of here. I have advanced. But I still had things I needed to learn because especially when you
Yeah.
are being an intuitive reader, you have to know how to or learn how to cut that energy off. Because after I
Yes.
was done with that first reading, I was completely drained,
Oh,
not knowing that I
yeah.
done took all these people's energy with me. I
Yes.
didn't
That was
disconnect
the
from
lesson.
that was the lesson. And so I asked my Reiki mentor, I was like, how are you not tired? And she was like, because after you get done with one person, you have to return that energy back to
Yep.
them. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
That's right.
But I passed out that night. I was like, oh, no,
They went home like, wow, I feel amazing.
you
That
know?
that lady's awesome.
And I'm like, oh, God,
They was like, I got more
great.
than reading.
Right. So, and being that I'm an empath as well,
Yeah.
I have to learn how to disconnect and then also do
Yes.
whatever cleansing when I get back home. And so that was another component that I needed to learn. But that's how I got into the intuitive readings. And so I got enough courage to start going live on TikTok. And it was an amazing experience doing those readings for people because it also helped me to get more into practice of
Yes.
what I do. It also helped me to learn how to help people in a way that they need to be helped. And it also it opened up new opportunities for people, but then it also led me to a path of teaching. Because again, I no to that. But as I was doing the lives, it was like I'm doing here today, just telling you about my story, but I'm also
Right.
like teaching you things along the way. They was like, "Oh my God, you should have a class. You need to do." It. And I'm like,
Because
mm,
nobody else is doing that either. And I was going to ask you that, like, when you do that, I always wonder because I see you got a lot of people on TikTok doing it, and some of it's performative.
mm-hmm,
And I wonder if, how is that, like, as far as not being able to see the face, it being hundreds of people possibly on at the same time, is that not draining? Is that not confusing? How are you able to tap into the individual? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I
yeah.
always wondered with that.
You know what's crazy? I when I do one-on-one readings, I'm more nervous when I do the one-on-one readings versus when it's like everybody in the room because
Yeah.
even though there are a lot of people and there are a lot of energies here,
Mhm.
75% of the people are giving you the energy of like, keep going. We're
Yeah.
encouraging you. We're here with you. Like, oh my God, this is great. So you have like that backing. And
Mhm.
so you're able to like utilize that energy to help the one person because
Okay.
it's kind of like preaching in a way. Even
Mhm.
though you're not talking to a specific person, everybody can get something from
Yes, it
what's
could
being
be
said,
right.
you
It could be
know.
a message. Yes.
And so I've learned how to
Okay.
just clue in on the one person, but I also know that it's the message is being sent to other people as well, you
Okay.
know. But I try to stay focused on them because throughout the time I'm looking at the messages, I'm like, I know this is not my reading, but this has a lot to do with me too. Like
Ah,
I needed to
gotcha.
hear this. This was great. And so and what I like to do a lot of the times too is include my own life experiences to
Mhm.
tell the person, listen, I see your situation. I kind of been with you where you are going, and this is what helped me. And so
Okay.
with the teaching background, that's how it's been helping me with these readings on TikTok. Um,
I like it.
but then Spirit was like, yeah, okay, that's enough of that. That was cute. Time to move on. Because I was
They be
trying to
moving
be
you
there for
quick,
a while,
honey. They be moving you quick.
you know, like,
They like graduated, access granted. Come on.
okay, we're on to the next. So
Exactly.
they the people who are in there, they were encouraging me to, you should do a class. You're giving a lot of information out for free. And I'm like, I mean, it's free information. What do you mean? But it was like, no, you need to like, because a lot of people don't know what to do when it
Right.
comes to spirituality. They don't know, who to call on it. They don't know who to talk to. And then there's a lot of gatekeeping in
Yes.
spirituality as well too. And I'm not that type of person. And I and being that I haven't been raised into a specific African spiritual practice, I can understand people who have been raised in it who will gatekeep in a way
Yes.
to say, no, this is how it is supposed to be done. And you can't just come in unless you are initiated in. And you
Yeah.
can't just do the things unless you've been initiated and you've been called. And I don't take it away from them at all. Do your thing.
You. Yeah.
But for me, I am free.
Exactly.
And
And I think there's a difference between being initiated into something and being initiated and anointed by your ancestors based on your experience and who your spirit and your soul contract is. And nobody can
exactly.
take that away from you. I think a lot of times people say that because you mad, because you stuck.
You
You
stuck.
stuck. You got to
Just
stay here. You got to stay here. You can't go and have the total spiritual experience. And that's
mhm,
what I love about hoodoo. Hoodoo is like it's ours, but honey, with anything you can, that's what we did. We used what we got. What's in
exactly.
our DNA from other lifetimes.
Right,
So there's a
right.
whole lot we can pull from, and I'm grateful
Mhm,
because I used to think that I wanted to get initiated in something, and my ancestors always was like, "No, ma'am. I told
mhm,
you, you in groups and communities, no."
mhm.
they, were, they were like, "Get what you need, keep it moving." So I think that
Uh-huh,
makes you especially qualified for people that you working with who also don't want to go and commit so fully into something they
right.
don't understand. So
Mhm,
yeah, I'm glad,
yeah.
and I see a lot of us actually really starting to come up, and I know that's why, because there's people out there that are coming from a religious deconstruction background. They ain't jumping into knowing that's
Mm-mm,
that's
that is the
too
last
much,
thing
too
they
quick.
want.
That's too much, too much, too quick, but they can still be having a spiritual experience and learning things baby steps. And so that's what it sounds
Mhm,
like you're giving people. And
yeah.
I do like the fact that you're teaching people how to use tarot responsibly because it's still
Mhm.
opening portals. Like
It
y'all,
it
we
is.
still, regardless if you ain't initiated nothing, this is universal law. You start
Mhm.
dibble dabbling and playing around because you want to see how it works
You're right.
without your ancestors, without knowing how to protect and all these
Yeah,
things, and you will find out.
real quick, real quick.
Yeah.
And of course, you have the trolls and people that come along, then you have the people who are heavy Christian or whatever
Oh
the case
yeah.
may be.
They
You're
love
going
to
to
insert their
hell.
opinion.
You should not be doing this. Jesus loves you.
It's almost like they feel like they're doing Jesus work by doing that. I'm
Like,
like,
what power do you think you
shouldn't
have
you be
over
reading
me?
a Bible somewhere? Like
Get away from here. Why are you
you on
here?
TikTok, looking for these type of videos.
Right.
Why am I coming up in your algorithm?
It's a reason why you're here because you
Right.
keep looking at
You
this stuff.
looking.
So
Right.
so you want to be here, but
Right.
but you're trying to deny what you truly feel.
Right.
So when they come up, I always have this line for them, and I say whatever their username is. Thank you so much for being here. If this program, if this live does not resonate with you, you are free to literally be anywhere else in this platform. You do not have to be here. Have a
Right.
blessed day. Okay.
Right.
Move on, But yeah, you have those types of people. But when when I would go live, I would light my candles for like protection. I would
Yeah.
ask spirits when I start the live to protect me from anything that comes through here, protect my energy, and I return the people's energies back to them
Right.
once we are done. I may do it in my mind or I may say it out loud, but whatever I do, however I do it, I make sure that send it back to y'all because I'm not responsible for
Yeah.
it.
Well,
And even
good.
if
And that's the most important part that they need to know before they
yeah,
decide to even pick up a deck. Even if you're doing it
hmm
for yourself. You need to know
yeah,
this. Like you get
because
used to, yeah.
those negative energies will slip in there and will confuse you even when you're trying to pull
Yes.
cards, because you're looking for one thing or having one answer, then something else kind of throws you off and you don't know whether or not, especially if you're new to doing readings, you don't know, if the information is correct or not. So it's important to invite all of your spirit guides in here and your ancestors of light because we do have ancestors who just don't like
Yes.
us.
People
You
want to
don't
come
want to
over
work
here
with
so
this.
bad.
Like,
It's a,
no,
it's a lot more
stop.
responsibility on this side. This is
Hmm.
not for the spiritually lazy. You got to
Right.
be
And this is
active
why
and
people who come into spirituality quickly leave because they don't have a solid foundation
right.
on what they're supposed to be doing. It's like, oh no, I done had this experience and this spirit came after me and did this, and that's why I had to leave.
Wow. I'm like, that's never happened to me.
I'm good. I mean, I've had experiences, don't get me wrong. I've had spiritual attacks and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it wasn't enough for me to be like,
Nothing like
Jesus, I'm
that.
coming back. Like, it has not been that for me.
Right.
Um, but that just tells me, like, okay, there was a level of spiritual immaturity and
Yeah.
protection that you didn't do for yourself, and you were just going along. You should have been doing the actual work too. And that's another thing too,
Yes.
when you're coming into spirituality, it's almost like you're looking to be saved versus just
Yeah.
being you and allowing spirit to flow through you and allow yourself to have this journey. It's not, it's your responsibility to still do the work. You have to do the work. This is how
Got
you
to.
grow.
Y'all hear
It ain't
that?
just,
Here's another
yep,
guest saying
you
you
have
got to
to
do the
do
work.
the work. This is this most important thing of it all because again, having these experiences, just going back to what we said in the beginning, having these experiences is what helps you to grow. If every time something happens to you and you cave, are you truly built for this life? Are you truly built for life? Because life doesn't stop happening to us,
Mm-mm.
just because we have a good thing that happens, something bad or bad, quote unquote, is going to happen. But that's the cycle of life. You get to determine how bad it is for you. And you don't have to wallow in it when the unfortunate thing happens. Maybe look at it as, you know what is a lesson that I need to learn from this?
Right.
Now, as human beings, that's not going to be the first response. But if you are truly connected to your team, you know that okay, something's happening here. God, spirit, all universe, show me what this is. Show me what this is about. Send the right person around me to give me some confirmation, or maybe I need to go get a reading to see what this is about. But ask those questions before you flip your
Run
lid.
away and go back and be like, y'all was right.
I should have never left. Jesus. Like no, it's not always that. Like calm it down a little bit, relax, and come
Yeah.
into yourself. As I was going along in my spiritual journey, and this is what actually led me have it's what actually had our paths cross. As I was growing in my spirituality, I thought I just had to be one way. Acting like I was in church still, like I was still a part of the organized religion of it all. I had to be Mama Goddess, nice and kind and telling the things and delivering the messages, and that is very much a part of me.
Hmm.
I don't know what clicked for me or what happened, but I'm looking at my TikTok and I'm usually utilizing like the sounds, and certain sounds I couldn't do because my account was a business account. And so
Hmm.
when it's a business account, you can only use
Yeah.
commercial sounds.
All
So
the
I was
weak
like,
stuff.
wait, nothing's trending. It's like, ugh, get out of
Yeah.
here. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna switch this on over here to personal. The reason why I had it at a business account is because I wanted to put my business, like
Right.
list my products on there, but it wasn't connecting or integrating like it should. And anybody really, they're
Right.
not looking at it. They're not going to the site from me posting my products. They're going to the site from my link in my bio.
Right.
So I just went ahead and made that change and started using the commercial sounds. And as I'm seeing the sounds come up and different things that were available for me now that it's a personal account,
Hmm.
I so during the pandemic, I was a small YouTuber and I used to do reaction videos. And my channel was it was a random channel. Like I don't know where the algorithm was could place me because I was doing the reaction videos, but I was also doing mukbangs. I was also like doing uh what is it? Get ready with me. I was also doing shopping stuff. Like it was just like I
No,
don't
no
know
niche yet.
what no niche. Just the niche was random. That was the niche. And that was my name. Shanita Marie Randomly was the name of my YouTube channel. So only people who really got it were the small other small YouTubers who were trying to build too. But I
Right.
enjoyed like putting smiles on people's faces and making people happy and smiling and stuff like that. But as I was transitioned heavily into because I was still new to spirituality, so I was wearing my crystals and stuff, but I wasn't like in it, you know,
Right.
like I am now. I'm making the transition and I'm making my videos and stuff on TikTok or whatever. It was still the poise, contained, give you a reading, hey, how you doing, type thing, or educating people. I'm like, all right, this is what my TikTok is going to be. Me educating people about spirituality, giving them whatever messages they need to hear, giving them the first step to how they need to build their lives. And over time, it wasn't enough anymore. So, and I started to look at myself here again, like, you aren't just this. There's, and I'm boxing myself in, even in my freedom of spirituality. I'm still boxing myself in and not allowing myself to be like the whole me, like you mentioned earlier, like being authentically you.
Right.
So I started to do more entertainment videos, but were also centered around spirituality. Like I brought spiritual humor together
Yes.
because we can laugh and have fun too
Oh
in this
yeah.
spiritual walk. Everything is not always serious and doom and gloom, and it's not. But this is almost like what the theme is amongst the spiritual community. Like you are not allowed to laugh and have
That's
fun.
true.
You are just allowed to go through these lessons and you're allowed to grow and then do the next thing. But fun,
It
you
is
know,
fun. Like once you get to a certain point, once you get get out of the dark night of the soul.
right. What is that? Um, so I started to make my do my content around spiritual humor, but also educating at the same time because then I would follow up with because they ask questions. Well, what does this mean? And so I'll have the follow up video. Okay, so boom, this is what this is. This is what this means. This is what this is about. And so that started to cultivate into a thing. And then one day Spirit was like, you know what, you should do types of spiritualists. And I was like, okay, we can do that. And I'm, asking Spirit to give me the ideas and I'm writing stuff down. And I made the first part one of the
Yeah.
spiritual types of spiritualists. Did not expect it to be because my thing was I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go to the next content thing that I'm gonna do because I have a list of like what I'm going to do
Oh
and
yeah.
how I'm
See,
gonna
you own
record.
it. You've organized with it.
I organize with it, as organized I can be because again,
You
I'm a
busy.
Sagittarius, and I organization is not always me. It's not top priority for me
Well, with most
at all.
creatives, it's not. Yeah, we just know how
Hmm.
to be creative and
Right, and I just do the things.
right.
So I made that one, and the response from it was like, "Okay, here we are. All
Yeah.
right, part two. Okay, you're all right." So then we go to part three and part four and the things, and you found me during the types of
Yeah.
spiritualists. And
Yep.
so that's why I say that the because I allowed myself to be in my authenticness, if that even is a word,
It
I
is
was able
today.
to. It is today. Thank you, dictionary.com. But it is there. Um, as I was being free, experienced another. as I was experiencing another part of freedom in my spirituality, our paths were able to cross.
Yes.
But had I been just stuck in, here's a video, hey, I'm a mama goddess. Uh, here's what spirit here's what spirit has to say to you today. you know,
Right.
uh, but no, I just allowed spirit to. I was in flow,
You said
and
yes.
I said yes,
You said yes.
and this yes was more easier than my other yes.
Yeah.
But and even with this one, I was like, I don't know if people will receive that. Like,
Oh no, we loved it. I thought it was so creative, so clever, and like I told you, the ancestors are picking these guests, and
mm-hmm,
I saw it, and I didn't at that time. I wasn't picking podcast guests, so I saw
mm-hmm,
it, and I thought, oh my God, this is so clever! Like from the
mm-hmm.
Family Matters music. I hope there's a way that I could put one of the clips in here too, so that you can
Okay,
see that.
yeah, yeah, that'd be dope.
And then you nailed it with the different ones, and then of course you had to go through a lot of acting, changing clothes and everything on that. How long did it take you to do one of those?
It takes me at least an hour and a half.
Okay,
And
that's
it's
not
not
too
even
bad.
because of the outfit changes, but it was about getting into character, so to speak,
Yes.
and then making sure that it comes across as who I'm trying to represent.
Yeah.
And 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 again, I'm acting like I'm an actor, and then I'm in the studio, and then I have these people telling me, "All right, cut, do that one again. That wasn't good."
That's your ancestor. They
You
getting
know,
in
you
the
can lean
character
into
too.
this a little bit more in this scene right here. Like this is the thing that's going on in my head as I'm recording in it, and I'm just using my phone in this, and
Yes.
I'm recording and re-recording and making sure this looks like something, and then the editing part of it all, and it looks like I'm at different locations, but I'm at my house
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah, I know
entire
that's
time.
right.
Utilize again, going back to hoodoo, just utilizing what's around me.
That's
I'm
right.
in my backyard, in the front yard, in the driveway, in the living room, in
Your
my
neighbor's
room.
probably like, "What is she doing?"
I was telling my husband, like, we have some neighbors across the street who always are coming and going. And I'm like, could y'all just stay home? And because y'all messing up my flow. Like, I'm watching
Right.
y'all move. Stop moving.
They're like, "Why she keep
But
changing clothes? Is she all right?"
she, like, hey, stop. But yeah, it takes me about an hour and a half and then it's hot outside, because we're in Florida. And then it's
Yes.
raining too. It's hurricane season.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to
at any
beat the
given
rain
moment.
at
You
any
know.
given moment of the day, or it would threaten to rain and not really rain.
Right.
So, yeah, it takes me about an hour and a half. But for me, it's easy to do and it's fun for me to do. But the energy that I'm giving off is actually healing people too, because I'm getting those
Yeah.
in the responses as well. Like your smile is just, your energy is just, I'm
Yes.
like, oh my God, I'm so glad y'all can feel like the
The
energy and that
light.
y'all are getting healed from it. Yeah, right, getting that light from it. People inboxing me, your videos are amazing, but I just want to tell you, thank you for being you. I'm like,
Your
oh,
energy. Yeah.
that's
That's it.
great.
That's what I was gonna say. When I came back around, and you know how it is, you pop on TikTok and people that popped up, and you came around again, and my ancestors was like, "Get her." I saw you on Instagram too, but I had already seen
Mm-hmm.
that video on TikTok. You know how they do.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, "Get her," and I was like, "Okay." And so I always check out, the people even after they say
Yeah.
that. So I checked you out and I saw the videos, and that's the first thing I noticed on your other videos is I was like, "Look at
Mm-hmm.
the light in her." I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Look at this one here." I was like, "This is a real divine feminine." And then of course I fell in love with the name Mama Goddess, and I was like, "Oh," and then I saw how many followers you had. I was like, "I hope that, she's got time for this, and so whatever they was like, do what we said do.
Mhm.
And
And
so I
listen,
I went and did it. You came back right away. I was like, oh, I love it.
mhm, and usually I'm getting chills. Usually after a certain time, I don't respond,
Yeah,
but because I'm like, I'm shutting everything down. I don't
yeah,
have any more left. But that night, it was my Patreon night. And I had just got done with Patreon when I responded to you. And I was like, okay. Because they get a lot of scammer people too. So I
Oh,
went
I
and looked
know. That's why I was
at
like,
their page
Look,
and I was like,
TikTok,
oh,
please let me
she,
through." TikTok be
so I'm
they
looking
be
at your page.
gatekeeping.
Hello, girl.
So
So I'm looking at your
yeah.
page. I'm like, oh my gosh, she does this. This
Yeah.
okay. This is dope. I can do this. Let's go. I
I
love
love
it.
it. I love the people. I'm telling you that this is definitely a new era of the podcast. And like they said, it's a portal. This is the
Hmm.
temple, and people will be drawn to hear the messages that you and your guests have to give. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
so I always go in like, okay, what's this gonna be? Like, we got a soul contract to feel or something,
Hmm.
And then it's like you're in Jacksonville. That was like,
Yeah,
okay, yes, she's a
it was
local because
confirmation.
yes, it's confirmation. There's other things that are brewing inside of me that have actually been long-term goals of retreats, some sort of meetups, bringing different spiritualists and
Yeah.
stuff. So now all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to
Hmm.
see a little bit. I don't see the whole thing, but I feel us
Yeah.
moving in a direction, and genuinely, it's a connect because as I hear
Hmm.
you, I'm like, this is a real divine feminine.
Thank
Because that
you.
story you told me in the beginning, I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, she she one of them, she's not performative. She
Uh-huh.
definitely walked through the fire. She was sent
Hmm.
here, and now you're actively in, helping people, and you found a creative way to do it. So I am really honored that you came on my podcast. And they told me that too. They were like, you're going to be meeting your soul family now because we've been
Wow.
walking alone. We haven't been initiated
Yeah.
in things. We haven't had
Hmm.
people. And they were like, okay, now it's time for y'all to connect because this is about not doing this work alone. This is about us connecting together and raising the consciousness of the collective and our
Hmm.
in our ways. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, yay. They was like, you're not gonna be alone no more. I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, it only took like 20 some years, but
Yeah.
okay. Like what, 21 now? I was like, yeah, you think you was the only one complaining. Um,
Mhm.
you talked about a lot. You shared a wealth of information with my audience, and straight from the heart, straight from the spirit. This is who you are, and I love this. There's one last thing I want to talk about before you go, if you got
Yeah.
time, because
Yeah. Yeah.
we've been going.
Yeah.
Is the forgiveness because I
Mhm.
think that forgiveness is so healing, and so I want to hear your
Mhm.
experience with that.
So, what I wanted to say was shout out to your ancestors. I heavily connect with older people as far as age is concerned. Like I even have somebody who is like 65, 66, who's under my teaching, and she's like, I don't care where you go, I don't care what you do. We are going to always be connected. So you can try to
Yes.
leave me if you want to, but it's because of you. And she's cradle Catholic. So to
Oh
be
wow.
learning what she's learning now, it's like, oh my God. So
All right.
I heavily resonate with, like I said, with older people. So for your ancestors to acknowledge me, to put us together and to say, yes, her, I am overwhelmingly
You
appreciative,
are that.
honored, because I take no credit because this is a faith based journey, and to be accepted from other people, but then also accepted from other spirits, like that are not connected to me directly.
Yeah, that's true.
It's truly an honor. So thank you to your I honor your ancestors, and thank
Thank
you
you.
for um for choosing me for your
Yeah.
experience. So
And I honor
I
your
need to say
ancestors
that.
for a job well done, you know? But I think,
Understand.
what I'm learning now is that we're remembering. That's what it is. We're activating these codes that we are and always have been. So you are that. Like, and I really had to go like over this weekend when they was telling me all the stuff I came here to do, why it is I went through what I did, who I was in a past life, who my cosmic family is. I was sitting there like, what?
Yeah. Excuse me?
Like me? And they were like, yeah, they were like, you always been this, that. But they would always tell me this. Then I went
Mhm.
down the journey of the things that I was remembering
Mhm.
before, and I was like, but I always knew this. you know so it's a remembrance,
Yeah.
it's a remembrance, and we're all not, no, we're not all, let me
Yeah.
just take that back, because I used to be like, we're all gifted. Some of
Yeah.
us are star seeds, some of us
Mhm.
are not.
Right.
And it doesn't
Right.
make anybody any better, but star seeds and people from cosmic intergalactic planets are reconnecting because of
Yes.
the work that we have to do. And what
Mhm.
I feel is you're one. I don't know where you from, but I do know that you're one. You are a star. And so I'm excited. That's why I'm like, she in Jacksonville. I'm like, I don't
She's
know
closer
what it
than I
is,
thought.
but something, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm not gonna go too far
Yeah.
with that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say don't be surprised if I hit you up for something. I don't know what yet though.
Mhm. Girl, I'll be here. We're
That's
connected
how it
now.
works. Yeah, we connected now. I love it.
Mhm. And it's
So,
interesting that you say that too, because I'm also getting chills again, because I have been introduced to the idea of having a podcast where we talk about strictly spirituality and the journey of spirituality and the things that we picked up over time. And I'm like, well, who would I do that with? And I was entertaining that idea with an ex associate of mine. And, but Spirit was like, no, not her.
right.
So I don't know. Maybe you and I at some point. I don't know. But
I love it.
I'm open to it.
Well, now that
Um,
you're blossoming, you'll expand in all sorts of different directions.
yeah,
Yeah.
God willing.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
let me
happening.
own it. Let me own it. I
You earned
receive
this
it.
shit,
Yes.
girl.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you went through the
yeah,
fire. It's time for the
yeah,
good part.
yeah. Um, so forgiveness. So it was a very challenging thing for me to do because so I used to, well, I still do, but Carlton Pearson was a very well known and respected bishop in the church for a long time. It's early like 90s is when I was introduced to him, but he had been doing ministry long before that. And very gifted in what he does. He used to preach, he used to sing, he used to have all these things. But then he came to a part of his life where he was like, hell is not real. And when he started preaching that, people was like, what? How can you say that? Being that you've been following
Right.
God is like this and you've been doing the things, you get millions of people together. And how can you say that? And when he said that, my initial thought was like, what? But but somewhere inside of me was like, but you might be spitting on something though. Hold on,
Mhm.
because wait a minute. But true religion fashion, when you start speaking about stuff other than what the Bible says, you
Right.
get shunned for it. And that's what happened with him. He recently passed away year before last, I believe. But he what he started preaching is he calls it goodness, higher consciousness, I believe. And forgive me if I'm misspeaking. Those of you who are listening, y'all, if y'all know Carmen Pearson, you know what I'm talking about. It's just not coming to my mind right now. But one of the things that he was talking about was forgiveness. And what he said was that forgiveness doesn't excuse the behavior, it just allows you to be free. It takes away from the right to be right. Because yes, you were offended. Yes, you were wronged, and you do need justice. But it frees you from being a victim in the circumstances, you know? So going back to the lives that I would do on TikTok, what the theme kept coming up over and over again was forgiveness. People needing to let go of the
Yes.
connections that they've had towards people and how the people treated them. And I'm not saying that the bad thing that happened to you is easy to forgive or even you should you should, forgive. That's your own journey, that's your own path. But what it does is, like I said, it releases you.
It
Forgiveness,
releases
we all know that
you.
forgiveness is not for the person, it's really for you.
Right.
It's really for your freedom. Again, it frees you from being the victim in the circumstances, and it helps you to overcome. I personally have been dealing with the situation with my ex husband. We have a child together, and he was all the things: manipulative, abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Like, we went through the things. And and we share a child together, and so it was always a custody battle, and I'm always
Mm,
taking him to court. Every time something would happen, I'm like, oh, we're gonna go to court because I'm trying to fight to get my child. And that was going on for 13 years of his life, of us going back and forth to court. Of course, he was never there, our son was never there, but it was always a struggle. And up until the 13th year, that's when forgiveness started to really be a thing for me, where I had to let go of the need of being in control. I
mm,
wanted so bad for me to win in something against him. I wanted so bad to take the upper hand. I wanted so bad for him to pay for what he's done to me and how he treated me. But the more I kept trying to fight to be right or fight to be validated, the more I was losing.
right.
So I had to change my mindset, and I had to literally let him go. But I also had to realize why it was such a stronghold for me in the first place. Because I'm like, I've had exes before, but none of them has affected me the way that he has. What is it about this connection that I can't shake? Why is it? So I took some time to reflect, and during that time of reflection, the spirit was like, you need to forgive him. I'm like, okay, well, what does that look like for me? So what I had to do, and what I had been advising other people to do, is to write this person a letter. Say everything that you need to say, get it all out, say how you feel, whatever, whatever. Then at the end of that, this is the challenging part, okay? And it's, if you're not feeling led to do this, y'all, you don't have to do it, but this is just what helped me. Um, I put on there, I love you and I release you from my spirit. Not because I'm in love with you and I want to get back
Right.
with you, but loving me, forgiving and loving you really says that I love me more than I choose to hold on to the anger and the resentment and the pain from our situation. So, such and such, I love you and I release you from my spirit. Took that letter and burned it. Now, did that fix everything right then and there? Absolutely not. Because one thing about forgiveness is not a one and done thing. That's what I tell people all the time. Because it comes up in the readings, and they're like, "But I forgave them. I let them go." And I say, "But when they do something else that pisses you off, are you re-triggered?" Yeah,
Right.
because it pissed me off. Well, this is why forgiveness is not a one and done thing.
Right.
And I'm not saying that you have to, write the letter every time, but as often as you are triggered, is as often you need to forgive. Because again, forgiveness is saying, "I love me more than I choose to hold on to this anger and resentment towards you." And so, as often as I was triggered by him, I love you and I release you from my spirit, or I forgive you and I release you from my spirit. Because we all know that love is the most powerful emotion
Right.
out there and it conquers all. It sounds cliche, but it really is. It,
Hmm.
it takes effort to love
Right.
somebody that challenges your emotions. It takes effort, and the more we build on that and making that part of our daily lives when it comes to forgiveness, the easier it will get. And so when they do something to you the next time, you're not so easily triggered. It doesn't mess
Right.
up your whole day. You're not frustrated, or your nervous system isn't shutting down because this person done the things. You're like, you know what? I actually see you. And I see that you are not capable of being the person I need for you to be in my life. Or I see that you just don't have it. And I see where healing needs to happen for you. And I'm not responsible for helping you to heal, but what
Right.
I am responsible for is regulating myself. And so the
Mhm.
way that I regulate myself is to forgive you and let you go, release you from your release you from my spirit. So as I was making the conscious effort to release and to let go, spirit started to reveal to me what this was about, what this connection was about. And what I come to realize, I had a I had a dream. In the dream, it was my current husband and my ex-husband. I was in the bed with my current husband, and I kind of like lightly pinched his member. But when I pinched it, he was like, "Oh, oh my God, this hurts so bad. Why would you do that?" I'm just sitting here like,
They be so dramatic in dreams sometimes, though, don't they?
it's, and I said, "You know what? I don't have time for this. I'm out." And so I left, and I ended up going down this like stairwell. And in the stairwell, maybe like on the second flight down, there was my ex husband. And so, and I thank God for protection in my dreams, because it is just a side note. There's always a situation, not always, but oftentimes there's situations where I have an opportunity to have sex in the dream, but there's always like this force field that doesn't
Mm.
let them in. Even though I'd be like, "Take me now."
I had a dream like that, and it was somebody I knew, and I really respect this guy, like on a brother, like a
Yeah,
unk level, and I was like, listen, I didn't want to go there, just
right.
dream
What
because
is
I
that
really
about?
respect him. I mean, I think he's attractive and everything, but I just don't want to look at him like that. And so,
Right.
yeah, I got the block that time. I was, yeah, but I was
Yeah.
a little too willing. Like,
A little too willing. Like, why do I want this so bad? But I
I
thank God,
know.
because there are people who who don't have that protection, and they are affected like that in their dreams, and they're having sex
Mm,
with these spirits and don't know. I even talk about incubus and how incubus and
mm-hmm.
succubus work. But getting back to the forgiveness, so in the dream, I when we talk about sexual protection, he turns me around and he tries to get it from the back. But what ended up happening is like it turned into multiple hymns. Like he started to multiply. And I looked behind me and I was like, "Fuck," and woke up. So I was like, "Ooh, what was that about?
Right.
What was that?" So I go to the cards, and no, actually I started scrolling on social media, and somebody talked about a video, or was talking on a video about how when we come into a different lifetime, how we almost agree to have this conflict with a specific
Yes.
person. I don't want to say that we have these contracts and that we agree to have these contracts, because it can sound a little like, especially if your life has been jacked up in some sort of way, like, I didn't agree to this. But maybe you did, maybe there's a lesson that you needed to learn from this that you didn't learn
Right.
in another lifetime. And so what spirit was showing me, I ended up doing a past life reading on myself. What spirit was showing me is that I actually met him in another lifetime. And the lesson that I needed to learn from that was, even back then, he was using me. But because I wanted love so bad, I settled for him, even had his child. And it repeated in this lifetime that I had his child. And but what it was showing me was that he never truly loved me. And what I had to learn from myself is, because I was, again, wanting love so bad, it turned into me people pleasing and just doing whatever
Right.
he wanted me to do just so he can love me. And that repeated here in this lifetime. And so what I needed to learn is to stop people pleasing, is to learn that he may have had feelings for me, or what he thought was love for me, but he didn't actually love me like I needed to be loved or cared for as a woman. Why? Because he didn't have that for himself.
Right.
So I had to keep that at the forefront when he does his foolishness, because
Mhm.
otherwise I can get sucked back into it, and I get back into a cycle, and then we start going back and forth. And it was just like, yeah, no, remember why we're here. Remember to stay in that energy of forgiveness. Remember to let this go, because it's not, this is just a distraction from your journey, you know.
Right.
So I wanted to talk about forgiveness for a little bit because it's important when it comes
It
to your
is.
healing, especially when the trauma has been deep. And
Hmm.
the trauma looks different for everybody. People have come to me with traumas with their parents, traumas with their um, ex, traumas with friends, and certain things happen there that are seemingly unforgivable. You know, people who had loved ones that were murdered, and it's like there's no way I can forgive this
Right.
person for this. And again, I'm not saying that it's easy, and I'm not saying that it's something that you have to do. If this is where your spirit team is telling you not to do the things, if this is where you are in your journey, be in that space. But I do encourage someone out there to be like, okay, now let's look at the other side of this. What lesson can we extract from this? And it's hard to look at lessons, especially when the offense have been
Yeah.
so terrible, you know. But do know that it'll be easier once you transmute this energy into
Yes.
love and radical acceptance, you know, that'll help you live a better life while you're here. And again, we are not here just for ourselves. The things that we go through is for somebody else. So
Right.
you can be an encouragement to somebody else and say, hey, look, I've been through what you've been through. Let me show you what helped me, you know? So I do want to encourage people to maybe try to look at it a little differently, have a different
Consider
perspective.
it.
Consider it. And I'm not telling you what to do because you're grown, but
Right.
just look at a different avenue, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that those are my
Yeah.
thoughts on it.
That was a powerful story, but you're so right because forgiveness was a huge part of my healing, and I had some I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to forgive type
Mm-hmm.
situations. Like, why should I? But you
Mm-hmm.
broke down a lot of different aspects of it. The freedom for you and your spirit, number one. Like, you can release yourself from this. And you brought up the distraction that it can be. You also brought up the fact that the past life.
Yeah.
And that's very real because a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I recently went through. I've been this last week and a half, about 2 weeks, I had like some intense shadow work. And then after that, boom, 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 all this
Mm-hmm.
information. And I got to get the answers to the questions that I've been to be like, well, why did this? And then I finally started to ask the right questions. Well,
Yeah.
why is this person in my family? Like,
Right.
what is
What
their
is the purpose?
purpose?
Right. Yeah.
Like and then I started getting the understanding of who the soul was, the past lives and
Mm-hmm.
all that. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh snap. And I started going down people. These were things I always wanted to know.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going around with, this anger, this resentment, and I was able to release, like you said, I was able to do what I needed to do. Did a right
Mm-hmm.
ritual, candle stuff, release that. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
say I love you.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
don't
say
have to,
I
you
wasn't
know.
told that. So
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
could see that. I could see
Mm-hmm.
that being something good. But it was good to release, and I feel so much freer. And I had
Yeah.
already done some work on that. So yes, really, really solid stuff. You have been an amazing beyond a guest. Okay, you have been a
Thank
goddess.
you.
You came in here really just dropping gems, sharing your wisdom, well
Yeah.
rounded. Please tell my guests about any classes, any books, where we can find you, and what you got going on.
Shout out books. Okay, I received it. So
I'm always gonna throw that in there. All right, tip. And
yeah.
that just came
Actually
up at
I'm
22.
working on my own tarot deck. So we'll see.
Ooh.
Um so you can find me on my website, mamagoddesscrystals.com, where I have, I mean, the name is going to change at some point too, but I make crystal jewelry. You can book a reading with me. I also offer different spell works if you are wanting to do, if you need some workings done, I offer that as well. You can also find me on social media through TikTok and through Instagram. There in my link tree, if you are interested in being a part of the gathering, that is the name of my Patreon, where we talk about all things spiritual. We talk about any topic that you want to talk about. We talk. I don't know everything, But what I do know, I do share. But we've been going for 2 years strong now, and it's been great. More and more people are coming in, so we love to have you to be a part if you are ever interested in finding a tribe for yourself to help you grow and develop in your spirituality. That is the Patreon. The name of the Patreon is called The Gathering, and you can find that information in my link tree in my bio, either on Instagram or TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You're doing
Thank
so well. And
you.
I'm so glad we connected. And like I
Yeah.
said, I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I do know that something's gonna be happening.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
stay tuned.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean that is it, y'all. Until the next episode.